Hey, I'm Tom Odell and you're watching Moshcam. When I first started out in songwriting, an artist that had a lot of influence on me was Elton John, and about a few months ago he rang me up and asked me to support him, and then I met him and he asked me to record one of his songs, and it was just this crazy kind of week of kind of hanging out with one of your heroes, and very surreal, but also, well, I still haven't found the words to describe this experience, but it was amazing. I specifically request bananas that have aged for 7.5 days, and if I don't have them on my rider, then shit hits the fan, like big time. Like the whole gig may not even happen. So yeah, those that. I guess that's slow. I can't pretend, Lord. I can't pretend. Probably a song called "Supposed to Be," but it changes every night. I think the thing about "Supposed to Be" is it's like it's got one of those grooves that you can just kind of sit back in, and it's just a real. It's, as a musician, it's a real pleasure to play that song. I don't know why. One of my favourite gigs is we recently played in Japan on the side of a mountain at a festival called Fuji Rocks, and it was just it's the weirdest. I don't know if you've ever been there, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of like, it's very strange. It reminds me of Jurassic Park. You sort of go on this bus up this mountain, and it's the rain. It's constantly thunderstorms up there, so you see sort of lightning flashing down, and it's one of the most beautiful festivals I've ever seen. It's literally like in a jungle or jungle type thing. We played a set there, and we were so tired, but it was sometimes when you're so tired, things become so extreme and exaggerated. And it was just one of those set I'll never forget, you know. All my tears are being used up on another love. All my tears are being used up. There was a guy in Belgium that was at a festival, and it was one of the biggest crowds we've ever played to. But it was he was sort of right. He was right at kind of at the front, and he had a sign, and he yelled the sign. He held up the sign and he said, "You're the reason I'm gay." and I, you know, is it my favourite thing? I mean, it was very flattering. We were travelling from Chicago to Los Angeles, and our bus blew up, and then we ended up flying, and the bus then met us, and then through a load of circumstances, of which I don't blame, we then got, like, our gear got held to ransom by one of the drivers because we hadn't put him in the right hotel. So equipment being ransoming is probably my best story, but I think there's quite a few. I think actually in my tours, everything seems to always go wrong. I think particularly touring America, everything seems to always go wrong. So like, we always have vehicle problems. My tour manager was in a car crash the other day in Australia. Yeah, he was, and he got whiplash and ended up in A&E, and then no one told me for some reason, and then he turned up to the gig and he was really drugged up on morphine, and I went up to him and I was talking to him, and he was kind of drifting in and out of consciousness in this sort of haze of pleasure, and I didn't know, so I thought he was just kind of high, which is funny, but actually he was high on morphine. And it's getting late now, and we're a long way from our home, so before you see, there's one thing you should know. When you're home, babe, when you're festival, there was a rumour that there's this young artist who I actually think is great, and I'd never really met her before, but she told a paper in the UK that she'd slept in my teepee at Glastonbury. It's all cool, but I didn't actually have a teepee at Glastonbury, so I was just a bit like, that didn't happen. But there's a lot of shit, you know. It's part of the job. But I don't care, 'cause you're here, and you are not There's been a few where we've sort of where someone's travelled very far. Like there was one that travelled from South America to England to see a show, which was very sweet. There's one fan in Belgium that always pulls the stops out, and whenever we turn up, she's always gives us something. And there was one time when we just finished doing a TV show in Belgium, and we all really wanted whiskey, and we were going through different possibilities of trying to get it, and then we literally walked out of this building, and she was standing there with a bottle of whiskey, and it was just like the weirdest thing, because we were kind of about to go and search for it. It's very sweet. When you hold me in your arms, New York, hold me, yeah. I mean, they say you should never put two arms up after a show.
Why is that?
Well, like if you go like that, it's a bit like all hail me, whereas one arm is fine apparently. But I'm quite a fan of the two arms. Elton, David Bowie. I love Arcade Fire, and I'm so looking forward to their new album. I love their new song. If I leave it too much in the hands of my bass player, it could become progressive jazz, which is a real mood killer on the bus. But we listen to all sorts of things. Like I think I listen to a lot of Jack White at the moment, and I love that new Monkeys record. And I don't know, I listen to quite a lot of new music as well. What's that thing that's metal and it's called a something keyboard? It's like an African instrument, and it's got metal bars that you press down. It's really small, it's like that big. Glass keyboard or something? One of those. Or a glockenspiel, everyone loves a glockenspiel, don't they?